And on the Zoom call there, it says, it's going to read the trustee of the person, Mohammed Idris. Could you come on the Zoom call?
Can you hear me?
I can. Can you activate your camera?
Yes, just give me a second.
Hi there. So are you, is it Mohammed Idris?
The trustee. I'm the trustee. The trustee of the person is here, and all the beneficiaries have been already named.
Okay, so I'm looking for Mohammed Idris. If you're not him, you're free to go. We'll issue a warrant for him.
I am the trustee of the person.
So, okay, I'm not sure what that means. You're going to have to explain that to me. I mean, I know what a trustee is. You know, when they have a trustee over as a person, that's someone who governs their affairs if they're not able to manage their own. Generally, people aren't trustees for themselves, and so that's why, you know. And if you're, I'm not sure exactly what that means, and you're going to have to explain that to me.
What I mean,
like, say, if you're, I mean, I'm sorry.
What I'm saying is the trustee of the person is here, and all the beneficiaries are already been named, and it's on a trust, and that trust is private.
Okay, do you have a name?
Because you are claiming that you are the trustee, or the prosecutor is claiming to be the trustee, and the investors.
No, I'm not.
To be the beneficiaries.
Okay. So, okay, I'm going to stop you there for a second, because I'm not claiming that. No, you can't finish. When you say you are claiming to be something that I'm not doing, no, I'm not going to say that, because that's not true. I'm not claiming to be anything other than the judge in Thurston County District Court who's on this calendar. So I'm not the trustee of anybody.
Well, you're here to come after my personal trust, correct?
No, no. Why would you think that?
I object being a trustor.
Okay. Well, you're not one. I'm just trying to find out who you are.
I can't get any clearer when I said the trustee of the person is here.
Okay. Is the person here? You're not going to answer that.
The trustee of the person is here.
Okay.
And the beneficiaries have already been named. Is on a trust, and it's private, and my trust is private.
Okay. What's the state's position on where this case is headed? And then I can come back and speak with
Your Honor,
who I assume the trustee of the person is the person named as Mohammed Idris. And so, but let me hear from you what the state's position, these cases look like there's a fraction of failure to control a traffic device. There's a special fuel trip permit. And then there's a failure to comply charge.
Yes.
So what's the state's position on where we're going from here?
If Mohammed Idris is not present, the state would ask for a warrant.
Mohammed Idris I'm going to consider him present based on his verbiage. I know he's operating under a lot of false premises, but that's kind of on him. So,
right.
But I mean, what is the state where we're at here? If the state wants to go to trial on this case, we'll set it for trial, and then
the state would ask the court to set dates.
Okay.
Within speedy trial, the state also would like to clarify whether Mohammed Idris is intending to go pro se, or if he will have counsel at trial.
He looks like he was okay. So I'm going to speak here for just a minute, and I'm going to kind of tell you where we are with this, and then we'll go from there. So, you know, you said a lot of things already that just simply are not correct. And here's where you're at right now. All right. And so you've been charged. There's three things at issue here. There's two statutes that are alleged to have been violated: violation of a special fuel trip permit, violation of vehicle operator refusing to comply with an officer. And those are both, I think, simple misdemeanors, which carry with them maximum penalties of 90 days in jail and a $1,000 fine. pleas of not guilty, albeit have been entered. And then these cases, they're both criminal cases. And what happens is they either resolve through some sort of plea or some sort of agreement, or they proceed to a jury trial. And now, if you go to it, since they are criminal cases, it's headed to a jury trial, you're entitled to be represented by an attorney. Look like a previous judge had already ruled that, or found that you were going to, are you going to represent as the person, as the trustee of the person of Muhammad Idris, going to be present to contest the criminal charges against the named Muhammad Idris? Are you going to do that yourself, or do you want to have an attorney appointed to represent? I can screen you for court-appointed counsel, or you can hire an attorney to represent yourself.
Do I have a standing to speak?
Yes.
Okay, I object to what the prosecutor has said.
Okay.
And I'm standing on, I am. Like
You're standing on what?
The trustee of the person is here, and the beneficiaries have already been named.
Okay.
It's not a trust and it's private.
Okay.
And I object to the prosecutor saying that representing myself, I object to that. I object to being the trustor. And I'm not here to give out gifts, reducing the public law or the public debt. Because I'm brought in as a trustor to give out gifts, and turn around, and what the court is doing is coming after me for the commercial promise. So for that reason, I am the trustee. I'm standing on that position.
All right.
And I'm not here to give out any gifts.
Okay. No one's here for any gifts.
Well, I object to that. The trustee of the person is here, and all the beneficiaries, or the beneficiaries have already been named.
All right.
And I'm not talking about the beneficiaries, which is the investors.
I have no idea what you're talking about. When you talk about the beneficiaries, I don't have a clue as to what you're talking about. So I don't even know what that means. I'm trying to figure out, where we're going to go from here. And I have an idea, but in a minute, I'm going to take up some of these. I'm going to take some of these other cases, and then I'll come back to you. But
I'm the only witness on the case, correct?
No, you're not. That's not correct. No. Give me just a second here. Mr. Newcomb, you can mute up there, Mr. Idris, and then I'll come back to you here in just a minute. And you can go off camera, but don't leave the Zoom call just yet, because this is going to take some time. I'm going to take care of some of these other cases first. Mr. Newcomb, is your case ready? I don't hear him. And then Ms. Lazarek.
Your Honor, we'll be doing a change of plea today, but I'm just waiting for my client to log on.
All right. All right. So you can come back on the, you can come off the Zoom call there. Mr. Idris, you can come back off of mute. You can come back onto the Zoom call. So here's where we're at here. And I started talking about, and again, at this time, I don't want to hear anything about the trustee and the named or unnamed beneficiaries. My only question is, do you want to have an attorney appointed to be involved and help you with this case? I mean, that's a yes or no question.
The trustee of the person is here, and the beneficiaries have been already named. And I'm asking for the court to dismiss this case because I put myself in the position of a trustee.
Okay. The request to dismiss the case will be denied. I'm telling you that. And I'm going to ask my question again. Do you want an attorney appointed to represent you, or are you going to go it alone?
How can somebody represent me when I'm the trustee?
Okay.
And the beneficiaries have already been named? You can't even continue.
Why do you think that?
What does it have to do with thinking?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I mean, you're just telling me that, well, I've named the trustee and the beneficiaries are named who haven't been named to me, so I don't know who they are, and they're really not interested. I mean, if life were that easy, anybody could do that in any criminal charge. Anybody get charged with anything? Well, I'll just name myself the trustee of the person and name some beneficiaries, then you're off the hook. You know, things just don't work that way.
How come they don't do it?
And so in terms of, you know, at some point on the, there was a scene where you were contacted by a law enforcement officer, or maybe even more than one. They identified some charges or some statutes you were not complying with, including, you know, the special field trip permit, and you refused to comply with the officers and things of that sort. So they refer that to the prosecutor's office. They're charging a crime. And I've told you what those two crimes are. And now, again, these cases either resolve, and if you've been on the Zoom call, which I think you have for a while, you've seen some of these cases resolve, or they go for a jury trial. And again, you've seen all these other attorneys who represent these folks. I mean, if they could make these cases go away simply by naming someone as a trustee or naming the charged person as a trustee, I mean, shoot, they'd all do it. And then nobody could ever be prosecuted for anything. So that's why I'm wondering why you think that. And now I'm losing my voice, but it'll come back, I promise. So if you're going to keep
go ahead.
I mean, if you're just going to keep repeating that to me, then I don't have much of a choice other than we'll just set this to a jury trial, and then you can repeat that to the jury and see how that turns out. But I don't really have much of a choice here right now.
I object. Isn't the prosecutor supposed to be speaking and ruling between me and the prosecutor?
Say that again. I didn't understand that. Would you please repeat that?
How come the prosecutor is not saying anything? Why is the prosecutor silent?
Well, because part of my job is trying to identify who's here. And then the prosecutor did say that they want to figure out whether you're either representing yourself or you want an attorney. And so that started the conversation between me and you as to whether or not you want an attorney or not. And frankly, I still haven't gotten an answer. When I ask you that question, you just go back to restating yourself as the trustee of the person of Mohammed Idris, and then the beneficiaries have been named. So I want to get through that hurdle. And then, I have some responsibility to do some things here before we really hear from the prosecutor. Prosecutor will, I suppose, if this case goes to jury trial, they'll do that. They can negotiate with you some sort of resolution to the problem if you wish to do that. I can set this over for a period of time to give you an opportunity to do that. But And again, you still haven't even admitted that you're the person who was pulled over by the police officers on that day. So, I mean, we kind of have to get through some of these preliminary hurdles before we can get to that.
The trustee of the person is here, and the
I know.
beneficiaries have
You
already
have
been
said.
named.
You have
The
said. You have said.
the beneficiaries have already been named.
All right. Do you understand that the prosecutor is an attorney who's passed the bar, practiced law in the state of Washington, appears here fairly regularly, and knows the rules of evidence and criminal procedure, and quite familiar with them, given that that's what their job is?
I object to being the trustor.
Okay. Do you understand what a prosecutor's job is?
I object to being the trustor.
All right. You can go ahead and mute back up. You can stop your camera, and then we'll come back here in a minute. All right, Mr. Idris, you can come back on the Zoom call, please. Activate your camera. So I'm just going to talk for a few minutes, and then I'm going to tell you what we're going to do here, going from here. It looks to me like your first appearance on these cases was on July 17th, and speedy trial runs through right now, October 15th, 2023. So you are charged, as it looks like you were in front of a pro tem back on July 17th. You're charged, right there, with 2 crimes, and there's 1 infraction. Pleas of not guilty will be entered. Anytime anyone's ever charged with a crime, they have a number of rights. You have the right to be represented by an attorney, which I've talked about. You also have the right to, go to trial and call witnesses and so forth. And so, hang on, just let me finish, please. Don't interrupt me. I know what you're about to say, but I'm going to talk for a while here. So just please don't interrupt me. At the end of it, then you can say what you're going to say. All right.
My apologies.
So this case has started. This case is headed towards trial, apparently. And
this right here is the sovereign citizen fantasy in its purest form. He genuinely believes that repeating, "I'm the trustee," is some kind of legal force field. The judge isn't confused. He's being patient, and patience runs out fast in criminal court. Reality check: you don't magic your way out of charges by renaming yourself.
if my voice holds out, the trial is going to take place someday before October 15th. You have the right to an attorney, as I said. You also have the right to represent yourself. If you choose to represent yourself, I just want to advise you that you would be at a serious disadvantage. The prosecutor, as I tried to explain earlier, is a trained attorney, been through law school, been practicing law for a while, well-trained, well-versed in the rules of evidence, well-trained, well-versed in the rules of criminal procedure, been through jury trials before. They know how to conduct them. And so if you were to represent yourself, you would be at a huge disadvantage. It would be to your great advantage to have an attorney appointed, or you can hire an attorney to represent you. But as I said before, you do have the right to represent yourself. And normally you go through some sort of conversation with folks. I've been doing this job for a number of years now. I've had several people represent themselves. Normally there's a conversation I've had with people about asking them that they're aware that if they represent themselves, they'd be at a disadvantage. I tried to engage in that discussion with you. You just kind of reverted back to repeating that you're the trustee of the person and the beneficiaries and the name, so forth. But rather than go through the question and answer portion, I'm just going to tell you that's where we're at. So we're going to set this case. We're going to do two things here today. We're going to set the case for trial. You're going to get notice in the mail of that. You're also going to I'm going to set a status hearing or a pretrial hearing in about 3 weeks. And then somebody else, maybe it'll be me, will probably try and go through all this again. But I'm going to tell you some things that, you said you object to this and you object to that, and you're free to object to anything you want. But I have the ability to either overrule the objection, which means, turn down your objection or sustain your objection. And I'm having trouble actually understanding what your objections are. And so, and again, I'm going to lay out some of what's going to happen at trial if it goes that far. In a trial, they have a group of citizens come in, both the attorney and defense attorney or the person represent themselves, and the prosecutor has an opportunity to question them, talk about the issues that might come up in the case. Then they can eliminate who they don't want on the jury, and then 6, you will end up on a jury, and then the state will present their case. You or an attorney, or you on your own behalf, or you as the trustee of the person, can present your case or explain to the jury why you think you should be found not guilty of what you're charged with. And so in the grand scheme of things, frankly, the charges that you're charged with are not far from the most serious that we see around here. They're not. But they are crimes, and they are in their own way serious. And so I don't know whether anything I've said has made any impression on you at all, but that's what's going to happen here today. And if you wished so this case is headed for trial, and like I say, we'll do sometime before October 15th, but we're going to do a intervening, and I'll tell you when that is. Why don't you set just a status pre-trial for like about 3 weeks. And you can think about what's going on here. You can think if you want to take some alternative place. If you want to just come to court and keep repeating the same thing to me when you get in front of a jury, you keep repeating that same thing to somebody else. I suppose there's no way I can stop you of doing that. But I'm just trying to enlighten you on what's going to happen. And some of your objections you talk about. See, that's the advantage the attorneys have. The attorneys know when objections are well-founded and when they're not. And I kind of get the sense from you that you really don't have a complete or accurate idea of what this is all about and what's happening. And so I tried to spend some time explaining that to you as best I could. And I guess I told you I'd let you speak, or hinted that I would let you speak. I'll go ahead and tell you. Do you have any response or any thoughts on this, or would you understand this is going to trial? Or go ahead. I've said what I'm going to say. I'll turn things over to you. Any response to any of that?
Again, I object. I'm standing at what I said.
Okay. And what specifically do you object to? Just so I can create a record, so I'll make a ruling on your objection. What are you objecting to?
I'm objecting to everything you're saying. It's a hearsay. It's an assumption, a presumption. It's a tacit agreement. It has nothing to do with the facts. That's why I'm the trustee. It has It has everything to do with the trust law. The trustee of the person is here, and the beneficiaries have already been named. That's why I have a trust, and my trust is private, and I don't see your trust. And in the trust that you have, the trust that the prosecutor has named you as the trustee. That's why you keep asking the prosecutor what they want to do, because they named you the trustee. And you guys brought me into court to give out gifts. And I'm not here to give out any gifts.
Right.
I'm here to object to giving out any gifts that's supposed to reduce the public debt. Am I wrong?
Yes. Yes, you are. And that's frankly, that's kind of the sad thing, because I'm really not sure completely of what you're saying, but a lot of the things you just said are quite simply not true. And I asked the prosecutor where they wanted to go in the case, because they file the cases, they choose to go forward. Sometimes, as you've seen today, if you've been paying attention, the prosecutor said, "No, Your Honor, we're going to dismiss this thing." And so I dismiss it. So I asked the prosecutor, they filed the case. What do you want to do with this case? They said they want to go forward. which brought about this conversation that we've been having. And that's just one example of one of the things you're wrong about in terms of this whole trustee thing. I don't know what that means to you, but I have an idea of what a trustee and is and things of that sort. And I don't have a trust. I'm not anybody's trustor or trustee. In this court, neither is the prosecutor. And so when you say, am I wrong? You know, the short answer to that is yeah. And unfortunately, and I'm taking some time to try and explain it to you, but I just don't feel like I'm breaking through. But to answer your question, am I wrong? Yes, you're wrong about a number of things, which is really unfortunate that I can't explain that to you or make that clear to you.
What's your evidence? Evidence is clarity.
I'm sorry?
What's your evidence that I'm wrong?
Well, I mean, you know, other than me just telling you that I'm not a trustee, I can't prove something doesn't exist. I mean, there is no trust. There's nothing else, and I have no documents that saying there's not one, and I don't have any document. There is no document saying that there is one. And so again, that's on that single issue. That's
so you're not coming after my personal trust?
No.
So personal
again,
trust.
I'm not sure. Well, let me rephrase. I'm not sure what that means. Again, you're charged with a crime. That crime needs to be resolved or either through trial or resolution of some kind. And so in terms of coming after your personal trust, and by the way, you know, I'm not the one who filed the charges. That was done by the prosecutor and all of that. And so what they're trying to do, I think, and I don't know this for sure, and I'm just trying to do this by way of explanation, not because I'm on anyone's side. You know, it's their responsibility. They're bringing the charge. It's their responsibility to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. It's your or the defense attorney's role to explain why the charge should never have been brought, or that there reasonable doubt exists as the charge was ever committed. That's what this is about. This whole trust thing, I think you're just going down a way that's really doesn't have any relevance to what's happening here. And I've tried to explain that to you, and I'm more than willing to continue to. We can't go at it all afternoon, but I'm trying to make this as clear as I can to you. But and again, it's unfortunate. It's a failing on my part that I'm not able to break through to you.
Your Honor, if I might for a moment.
In a minute. So I guess we'll set it for status hearing. We'll set trial dates, and then we'll just go from there.
Your Honor, based on this conversation, the state has concerns about the defendant's competency.
Yeah, we're not going to go down that route right now. And so you can raise that, but I'm not denying that without prejudice. But at this time, we're not. For one thing, as you well know, given the nature of the charges and given the schedule of this case, will drag everything on we'll be here for the next couple of years. And at this point, I'm not prepared to do that. So you can bring this up again if you wish. But for right now, we're not going to go there. And do you understand what the state just said to me and what I turned them down for? Again, that's a yes or no question. The representative from the state, the prosecutor, she just said something to me. And I said, no, we're not doing that now. She made a request of me. And so do you know what that request was?
I am the trustee, and the beneficiaries have been already named. So,
all right. Did he been sent discovery?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
Because
yeah, I understand why. I understand why. All right, so what's 3 weeks? What's 3 weeks from today? When's the trial date?
September 13th.
We're going to reset this to September 13th. Put it at the end of the calendar. Or
Okay.
what time?
2:30.
At 2:30. That'll be your next court date. You're free to go. Mr. Fugate, are you back?
I am, Your Honor.
And this right here is exactly how sovereign citizen fantasy dies in a real courtroom. No magic words, no trusty spell, no imaginary beneficiaries coming to the rescue. Just a judge, real law, and a defendant stuck repeating the same broken sentence while the case marches straight to trial. You can rename yourself, object to reality, and cosplay as a legal expert all you want, but at the end of the day, facts don't care about your made-up trust. The court doesn't recognize delusions, only evidence. Trial is set, excuses are over, and reality is coming fast. If you enjoyed watching nonsense dismantled calmly and professionally, hit that like button. If not, hit dislike. Either way, drop your thoughts below, subscribe, turn on notifications, because this trustee saga is far from over.